July 15th. The meeting is in session. Okay, we have a quorum. Let's do this. We have a quorum with 4. Dustin Smith is not here today. He was given additional or different job duties with the Border Patrol, and today is his first day on the job with those duties, so he thought it was inappropriate not to show up. And so I'd like a motion to excuse this absence.
Second.
Okay, who's first?
You made the motion.
No, I'd like a motion.
I seconded.
But she can't make the motion.
I'm not making the motion.
Oh, okay, so moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? This is an excused absence. Case, please stand. Is there someone in the audience that wants to do an invocation this morning? Okay, if not, we'll have a moment of silence. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay. Okay, the minutes for the general board meeting on June 17th, 2020. May I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Is there some second motion?
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? Any changes other than minor typos, so forth? Okay, now we have a first and a second. All those who approve, raise your hand. Unanimous. The minutes are approved. The Secretary's report.
We have a correspondence from a couple from Arkansas who stayed at the hotel. They sent a card wishing to acknowledge Carmen and Kylie at the front gate. There was a mix-up in their room assignment, but they ended up staying in the same room they had last year, which they said was perfect. And they also said Carmen and Kaylee had excellent customer service. That's all the correspondence we have.
We have, okay. All right, Treasury report, Bill.
Treasurer's report for June, profit and loss. We had income of $171,602.66. Total expenses were $207,923.04 for a net loss of $36,320.38. Las Morris combined of the various entities, we had a profit of $69.77. Restricted fund, we had a profit, or income I should say, of $303,000. $3,291.29. I'm gonna need more information on that because there's no real breakdown. For October through June profit and loss, we had a profit of $1,635,562.02. We had expenses of $1,866,987.97 for a net loss of $231,425.95. Los Morris, for the same, from October to June, with the various categories, we had a loss of $8,532.80. Restricted fund from October to June, we show income of $31,920.32. Daily balances. Texas Community, as of July 2nd. Checking was $40,409.82. Credit card, $30,809.29. Money market, $8,593.46. Bank and trust. Los Morris, $656.60. The restricted fund shows $355,836.44. General, $37,963.13. The historical preservation, $18,225.53. And the tax account, $35,396.58. Daily balances for Texas Community Bank as of, well, this goes back, this goes back to, to June. Checking was $41,722.89. Credit card, $35,605.27. And money market, $8,593.46. Bank and trust, excuse me. Los Morris, $451.16. Restricted, $357,560.80. General, $63,670.56. Historical, $18,225.53. And the tax, $35,396.58. That's the report.
Before we approve, can I make a suggestion that we maybe, the board and the accounting department maybe set up a meeting just to kind of go through some of these financials? Because I'm just kind of noticing that, like, if you put the last 3 financials, there's just been, the categories aren't matching up. I mean, there's just different things. And then this is like the 3rd week that we've asked for the impound fund to be broken down, and Randy was supposed to teach Cindy. So I just think it might be better if we can maybe all get together and just kind of get on the same page. And maybe we can ask Randy, like, his top 3 dates, and whoever the board members can make it to the meeting, we'll work around his schedule since he's, what do you guys think of that?
I think, personally, I think it's an excellent idea. I did talk to Randy this morning. I want everybody to know that I have been bugging Randy now since the last board meeting, and especially over the last 10 days, to break down the restricted fund, because it includes 3 major things. It includes the preservation money, $1 of the $4 that goes into the restricted fund from assessments goes to preservation, and it includes the backing for the letters of credit for TCEQ, which is $152,000. The rest of it is spendable dollars for capital improvements, taxes, that sort of thing. And he is in the midst, as you know, the federal government allowed people to file their taxes up through July, and unfortunately, we are not his only client. We will continue bugging him because preservation needs to know how much money's in there for them to spend. So I think it's a good idea. I think we just need to set that up with the employees and with the accounting department. And
I think there's 4. I think it would be 4 employees.
yeah,
Kind of
and
random.
have Bill lead that as treasurer, so we have that. Also, I wanted to let you know that Randy, this time our accountant, also did not break out depreciation and bad debt, which is important because it actually lets us know what we actually have left over to spend. And I just quickly added those figures up, and I will remind him to make sure that he provides those information for us. As for the June 2020 profit and loss, of that $11,730.75 in expense was depreciation. Bad debt was $22,904.40. That's a total of $34,635.15. And that actually then, if you subtract that from $36,320.38 showing as net ordinary income loss, we actually had a very small income gain of $1,685.23. If you go to the full year to date, from October to June, the depreciation expense was $105,576.75. Bad debt expense was $205,650.40. And you add those two together, and of the $231,425.95 showing ordinary net income loss, $311,227.15 was due to bad debt and depreciation. So that was an oversight. We want to get these things corrected, and what we'd like to do is eventually get it so our own people are filling out all of these reports through QuickBooks so that we do not have to spend the money for an outside accountant. So, Bill?
That was a comment that I was going to make, is that you ought to check with the ladies to see if they can in fact do it already on the restricted fund.
Well, that was, if you look at our minutes, I mean, it was a motion that Randy was supposed to teach Cindy the breakdown. But I don't think that's why I think it's best if we get everybody in here so it's not a he said, she said, everyone can just.
Well, be advised though that Cindy, the person that's in charge of doing this, was on vacation last week, so.
Well, we have
Yeah.
a month.
Okay, anyway, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
In favor? Raise your hand. Approved. And ladies and gentlemen, we're still trying to find out where everything is and everything went. We did make some money on the motel this last month, which is good. So, in fact, $22,175 from the motel. We're still not ready to restart the refurbishing program over there. We need to kind of build things up. Also, our member services between lot sales, transfer fees, and certificates, $9,975. So we're trying. Okay, my report's a lot more brief this month. Thanks. We've, ever since February 1st, when this board was appointed, we've had a lot of trials and tribulations. COVID-19, low spring water, extreme heat, trying to find out where everything was over the last 2 years. Having our staff search for things that we had no clue where they were. So it's been a long spring and a long summer so far. I do want to bring up 4th of July fireworks show. Resulted in lots of kudos from our members for a fantastic show. And I'd like to thank, well, in fact, we think we'd all like to thank the Chamber of Commerce, Community Council, the Fire Department, especially Philip Garcia, and everyone who contributed funds and time to make it a spectacular show. I also want to thank all those who kept social distancing and wore masks. I've also noticed that several meetings, not all of our board-sanctioned committees have been presenting reports. We'd like to hear regular reports from all board-sanctioned committees, and we need to start getting them regularly from the Golf Committee and the Airport Committee. We'd like to know what the board can do to help the committees better serve all of our members, including the pilots and the golfers. We opened our executive officer general manager search to the entire state of Texas. As of Monday, we'd received 36 resumes with approximately 15 interesting prospects. We also received 3 or 4 from FCSA members, and we'll be reviewing the resumes over the next several days, and we'll begin interviewing as soon as possible. As you know, COVID-19 is raging out of control in Texas. In the interest of keeping our members informed, this is the confirmed count of cases and deaths per county in our area as of Monday, 7/13. And this is by internet. This is the state side of the internet. Kinney County has 3 cases with no deaths. Val Verde County jumped to 594 cases with 3 deaths. Uvalde, 237 cases with 2 deaths. And Maverick County, 776 cases with 7 deaths. So please be careful wherever you go. Social distance, wear a face covering, and help protect our family here at the fort. In the office, face coverings are required if you go in to do business in the administrative office. And I'm really pleased to see people here wearing the masks. Thank you very much. We have them off so we can speak. During the coming weeks, the directors will begin working on the budget for 2020-2021. Department managers are preparing their budget wish lists to help guide us through the process since they're more familiar with their operations on a day-to-day basis. I will also be researching the Consumer Price Index to see if an assessment increase is appropriate according to our declaration. Usually the general manager, executive officer performs this function and the board reviews and approves. Until that time, the directors are going to have to be responsible for the budget. As many of you know, our revenue from the motel and the RV park is down because of COVID-19. Fortunately, the golf course continues to do well because San Felipe Golf Course in Del Rio is closed. We're getting their golfers. The pro shop staff and the golf superintendent are sanitizing and enforcing social distancing. I'd like to encourage all of our members who are currently delinquent with their assessments to please bring their accounts up to date. Even with the virus, we still must be able to support the day-to-day operations of the association. Also, another reminder for the golf course, cart paths are not to be used as hiking, walking, or jogging trails. And even after posting a notice in the dispatch, I personally, because I'm a golfer, have seen members, some with their children, walking and riding on the paths during regular course hours. The course is open 6 days a week and closed on Mondays except for twilight golf beginning at 3 p.m. We did 2 email approvals. The board approved a system router and an admin. The existing one is old and not secure, and it will be replaced with a Cisco Meraki MX64 HW with a 3-year enterprise license and support 3 hours of labor and tax for $1,136.87. We're in the process of doing that right now. It's going to affect the internet and the phone system. The board also approved an emergency purchase of water from Mud for the pool for the July 4th weekend. The cost was $600 for 1 million gallons, which is what it takes to fill the pool. It still took until Friday about 4 p.m. to fill the pool.
No, that was, you said 600 on the, but the pool head was already there. They didn't use a million. I think
Philip estimates that the pool was only a quarter filled, but in talking with Mud, apparently that's their minimum charge for putting water in the pool. Okay. So we'll be discussing that during the board meeting. Okay, that's my report. We're back to the committees. Airport, please. Anybody from the airport? Okay. Architectural.
Good morning. We're still holding our,
Move it, yeah, there you go.
still holding regular Tuesday morning meetings. And some good news in that we've got 2 new houses coming on the fort. Number 1 is a new mobile home in Unit 15. And that's probably the first new one that's been in there in a long time. The second one's on Fort Clark Road in Unit 27. Kind of been opposed to the modular houses because they sit up off the ground. This one's going to be down even with the ground, even though it's a modular home. Something that's been going on for a while here in Texas, but it'll be our first one here. And just a heads up for executive session, we have a member issue in Unit 1. Probably just take a really brief discussion. That should be it.
Okay, thank you. Golf committee. I have a report from the golf committee. It's brief, but I do have a report. This is from Katie Brown, who is acting as their secretary. The scholarships were awarded to 2 seniors from Brackett High School, Zool Connolly and Ava Malloy. The Cajun Shrimp Boil Tournament is this weekend, and it promises to be lots of fun, great food. Everyone is encouraged to play. Proceeds will go toward golf course improvements. Prizes will be given instead of cash to the winners of the tournament. Golf course welcomes all the players who've been coming over from Del Rio. We hope that they will continue to join us after their course opens back up. And that completes the golf tournament this weekend is a 4-man scramble, bring your own team, $400 a team. And like I said, we're hoping to get a lot of teams because that's a lot of money to go to the course for things like sand and sprinklers and grub poison, all kinds of things. Okay, preservation.
Good morning. Preservation. We've been meeting and we have a bunch of projects on our itinerary. Everybody on the committee has taken a separate project, so we're trying to move things along a little bit. The commissary, the guy is coming any second. He now has his workers here and getting ready to start pressure washing and then ultimately staining. There's a windlass up in the 3rd floor of the preservation of the commissary that we're going to try to shore up before it falls and is destroyed. It's been there for 100 years. Picks the stuff up, brings it up to the 3rd floor. So we want to make sure that's secure. We're starting, the preservation people are starting to volunteer and go around and clean up around the exterior of the buildings. They have weeds growing in trees and all kinds of stuff like that. So we're working on things like that. The other thing that we did was we had a meeting with Philip, Matt, Mr. Mummy, and myself, and we went through the basement of the theater. We wanted you to know, I had sent you a text that there was some issue about mold. We've been pulling our hair out and not getting anywhere, so we finally decided to take the bull by the horn, went through the basement completely from one end to the other, and we found no mold. So we were very happy with that. Then there was a complaint about the stage being a little punky. So I won't say who, but we had one person jumping up and down on the stage to see just how punky it was. And nothing happened. So we were quite happy with that. So the bottom line is we need a new pump. We're going to get volunteers to clean out those cellarways where mud has accumulated in leaves over years. Get the pump installed. Philip's going to do a little bit of grading on the side away from Fort Clark Road. And what was the other thing? Shore up the stage. Now, Philip's been talking to Mud. Mud's coming in and they're going to blow out all the lines, the drainage lines with pressure so that they can drain. The new pump's going in, hopefully. And they had come up with a couple of interesting ideas that wouldn't be expensive. We're just talking support underneath that floor a little bit where that person was jumping, because you really can't, you're not going to go through that floor. There's another stage under there, about 12 inches below it. So you really can't get too hurt. We just want to make sure that doesn't just collapse. So the bottom line here is, I did talk to Marilyn as well. She's very excited. They have begun the process of buying material, and they're going to cover the chairs. And Russell's looking at buying a great big emblem that was historically there on the curtain, the back curtain, in the old days. So we're trying to, with very little funds, get the theater back up and running. And she's got 2 plays scheduled for this winter. God knows we're going to need them. As long as we can all socially distance, we got to at least go to the plays. Maybe they have to do it 4 times instead of 2. So the theater people are happy. So that's that. I think that's all I have to say right now. We're going along with preservation. We're waiting patiently for this guy to get here and get going.
Thank you, good report.
Thanks.
Good news also. Okay, recycling.
Good morning. I sent a board-approved petition, or proposal, I guess is the better word, to the city of Brackettville. Hopefully, we'll get a positive response, but so far I haven't heard any word back. The proposal is to ask them to bring to maintenance our flattened cardboard that they pick up from all the businesses, in exchange for the people who live in Brackettville to bring their recyclables to us. So I bumped into one of the guys that pick up the cardboard, and he thought that was great. So that was just a guy who is actually doing the work. So I haven't heard anything from the city manager. I attempted that. They have a temporary phone number which I can't access because the AT&T tower doesn't allow me to make a phone call. So I drove past in their drive-through because they are closed, and they wouldn't open the window. So I don't have a clue on any response from the city. That's about it.
On the cardboard, have you talked to Philip about, because the biggest concern are people not separating the corrugated with mixed paper. And since there's not very many maintenance people, that's kind of a full-time job. If for some reason the city, you know how people just kind of stuff that in there?
Right.
They're not supposed to be baled together.
Yeah. I haven't yet spoken with Philip because we haven't gotten any word from the city. So, but the basic thing is flattened cardboard is easy to, bring in. In fact, I have Hope, the people from Hope bring cardboard, and everybody knows it needs to be flattened. You can't just bring a box over.
No, I'm talking about like the corrugated versus, like your soda cans and your beer boxes, they get thrown in with that, and it's considered mixed paper, so you're not supposed to bale that with a corrugated.
Sure. And that's a good point. What needs to be done, and if this happens, I have to do a lot of education with the city. for that point, as well as with the city people, because we don't want trash, we want recyclables, which is number
Really
one, and number
corrugated.
two, plastic, you know, beer cans, soda cans, water bottles. So that's taken a little bit for our members as well, and I know I'll be doing some chatting with the city if we get the proposal accepted.
I'll also note that we're going to do this on a 90-day trial basis.
Sure.
To see if the city actually responds the way we want them to. So this is not a permanent agreement, this is going to be a trial.
Right, right. Yeah, it's always good to have that, to negotiate further, so. Any questions, anything? Thank you.
Thank you. The Las Morris Restoration Project.
Chris Hale, who's our fearless leader, has asked me to read this to you. Would like you to understand what we're doing and where we are. The Las Morris Restoration Project Committee is moving forward with its top priority task, i.e. determining a path for repair of spring/pool. Through contacts with Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, Nueces River Authority, and Southwest Research Institute, arrangements were made for a site visit and preliminary assessment by JQ Engineering, the firm that was responsible for repairs to Balmorhea and Bastrop State Parks. Our committee this week received a proposal from JQ for doing a full assessment, which would be used as the basis for soliciting grants to fund repair. We are now evaluating their preliminary assessment in order to figure out the feasibility for seeking grants to fund the proposed full assessment. Just as a little, there's 2 women, retired women in Brackettville, who have written grants for a living, and they are willing to help us. The committee has also tried to make its work known in order to encourage suggestions from Fort Clark Springs members and to have identified other Las Morris matters of concern. So far, 2 requests have been made. 1, the pool should be made ADA compliant. 2, restore the Las Morris Spring historical marker, which was vandalized a few years ago. Efforts are now underway to investigate what's involved with accomplishing each. Consistent with our charge from the Fort Clark Springs Board that there is no Fort Clark Springs Association money to be spent, we're in contact with the ADA manager for Texas Parks and Wildlife to springboard off their expertise. Also, taking into consideration the information from Director Herman that the pool/spring are within the National Register Historic District, we will work with Texas Historical Commission to determine what's appropriate before coming to the Fort Clark Springs Board with this committee's recommendations for any actions on these 2 topics, and any others for that matter. Questions?
I believe is that the sign that you're, the historic sign that you're referring to, it's pool, that's the one that's on mud property?
Right, it's over there, and it's now sitting in,
Okay.
over in Kinney
And
County.
you're going to work with
Can you-
mud on that? It was on- it's
Mud,
placed-
well, the question is who owns it?
Well, it was placed,
I don't know.
it was placed on,
Because they don't seem to want to have anything to do with it, so.
well, Mr. Hahn worked it out with mud and placed it on their property. I don't remember all the details on that, but it is on mud property, and I don't think the association paid for the sign. So, I don't know who it belongs to.
I think they're still trying to determine where they'd like it. They'd like it in a different spot, but that's all sort of still
Okay.
in
Just as long
flux.
as everybody
Yeah.
realizes that it was originally on
Right.
property not belonging to the association, so we
And
have to deal with that.
I don't think we've determined exactly where we'd like it in a spot where it's
Okay.
seen more by the people using the pool.
Okay,
But that's all I got. Anything else?
no, thank you. Okay. Community council.
Natanya asked that I read this because she is at a meeting, a Zoom meeting. let's see, announced meeting in September. There will be, the next community council meeting will be September 12th, and there is a Unit 1 cleanup on August 1st from 8 to 11 a.m. And that's all I was sent.
When was that? Say that again, please.
The Unit 1 cleanup is on August 1st from 8 to 11 a.m. 8 a.m. to 11. And then the next meeting is September the 12th.
Okay, we get to old unfinished business. We have none today. We took care of it.
Oh, Sandy, just real quick, I just kind of wanted to give a shout out for Unit 3. I did drive by there. It looks really good. I mean, you can tell that the members there have really taken, it looks great. So I appreciate all the volunteers and the unit doing that.
We appreciate people living in the unit, keeping it that way. That would be nice. Because ultimately, members are responsible for their units. So sometimes it takes neighborly pressure to make sure that the work is done. And keeping us advised what's going on. Okay, the first item, and this was one that Rihanna placed on the agenda, and it's future discussion and action item on the deer capture contract.
Basically, we have a contract with a trapper, and it's getting ready to get pretty crazy. So we have a 30-day to kind of cancel it. So basically, I just wanted it in the minutes, and we can kind of readdress this, or when we have a leader, they can make a decision if this is something we want to do in the future or not. But it stops September 30th, 2020. So he'll need to move like his trapping stuff, because that's when our bow hunting starts. And then we can kind of evaluate. It looks like so far 55 deer have been removed from this trapper. It looks like there's a little, I don't know if the dollar, we either made $13,900 or $14,100, but maybe the math was off a little bit, so it's off 200, give or take. But I think that like I said, when we can hire a leader, they can kind of see if it would be better if we maybe opened up access hunting year round, or if we wanted to bring the trapper back. It just will give us a pause to kind of see how well it did and if it was the most beneficial for the fort. So it's just that we're still continuing it, but that's my proposal, that we go ahead and put it in there, because we have a new fiscal year coming up and a lot of activities. I just didn't want it to get lost.
Okay, would you like to make a motion that we cancel the contract for hunting season?
Oh, right, September 30, 2020, the contract that access trapping and removal by J.J. Descharm be suspended.
Is there a specific date you want to use?
9/30/2020.
September 30th, okay. Can you make that motion a little more clear for the minutes? Make sure Julie has it down
Cancel
right.
the contract, the 2020 access deer trapping removal with J.J. Descharm as of 9/30/2020 for the start of the 2020-2021 deer hunt.
Thank you. Second motion? Okay, Robert seconds it. All those in favor? Okay, just as a side note, we don't have the rest of July in here yet, but as of 7/2/20, the trap has brought in $13,175. So the trapping has brought in money we sorely need. So we just have to find someone who follows the contract a little more closely. All right. Okay, next we had a request by our member, Linda O'Brien, to create another or new ad hoc committee to review some weaknesses in the bylaws that we learned about the hard way with the special meeting. And I do want to let you know that when those bylaws were revised, it was with the help of an HOA attorney, so it isn't something that the board just went off half-cocked and did on their own. But there are some glaring things in there that need to be corrected and have never come up in the past. So we didn't really realize that there was a serious problem. So we've had members asked to form a new ad hoc committee. And we brought it up for an action item to vote to see if the board agrees that this is a good project. In the past, membership has also done this with both the declaration and the bylaws, where the committee comes up with the recommended changes presented to the board. We have a workshop to make sure that all the members know what the changes are, and then we go forward from there. And we would be probably basically following that same procedure with the bylaws. So with the caveat that state law is first, declaration is second, third is bylaws, we can take a vote on whether the board wants to proceed with allowing or permitting or granting the ad hoc committee. And we would expect the members, if it's approved, to have the names by the next board meeting and so forth. So do I have a motion one way or the other?
If I make a motion, we have a new ad hoc committee for the bylaws.
Wait, are we supposed to discuss this?
Let's get the motion on the board, then we can discuss it.
Motion?
I'll second it so we can discuss it.
Okay, this is for discussion. Okay, let's start. Robert?
Before the February 1st meeting, a member had approached me and was informing me that bylaws could be changed by the board, not the membership, or could be changed by the board without the membership approving. And I took exception to that because when I bought my property 5 years ago, I was given all of the documentation to read, the declarations, the restrictions, and at that point I had the opportunity to buy with those, with the understanding of those bylaws and restrictions, or I could choose to end my purchase. And that was kind of our contract when I agreed to follow those rules. But if a board can change the bylaws without the approval of the membership, that to me is kind of like taxation without representation. We already fought that war. So if nothing else, I really think that the membership, if there is something in the bylaws that need to be changed, I think that the membership should be able to vote on those propositions. Now, you might have to wait a year for an election cycle to come along, but I would be happier with that than to have a 5-member board make changes to the bylaws. So for no other reason than that, I would like to see the committee formed so that issue by itself can be addressed.
Yeah.
You kind of put in the order of the declaration or the governing documents. We are aware that there are some little hiccups that we need to kind of tweak on the declarations, but I think that this is supposed to kind of like work on behalf. So if we're going to do this, I think that we're going to need to do maybe get together, because there's a few, I mean, I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater, but there are some, the common property assessment, there's those little things that need to be kind of tweaked on the declaration. So I think we're putting the cart before the horse if we do the bylaws before the declaration. On Robert's note, as being an employee, the bylaws are more of a procedural guideline. So, I mean, yes, of course we want to know what the membership is, but whatever I'll put in here, sometimes it's the dates get messed up. And if you're saying everything, like if for some reason there's a change or something and it has to go to the whole membership, it's very hard to follow the procedures of stuff. That's kind of one of the things that I don't necessarily like the architectural being in that one. Because there needs to be tweaks, that says this member's for 3 years, this one's 2 years, but if no one's monitoring it, it makes it nightmare for an employee. However, I think there could be a compromise, and I think that on some things in the bylaws, I think you can maybe put this section, any changes must be voted by the membership. But I think there are some things, like I said, like the dates, like the voting rules, I think there can be a compromise. Where, like you said, can go to the membership for certain things. Like, I mean, the law is a law, but when it's kind of everyday procedural and somebody did a typo, it makes it frustrating as a former employee to kind of do that. And like I said, if things change, it's easier to change it amongst us, but there can be, does that make sense? Like certain things, this is the gospel. You can't, like, I think, like the code of ethics should stay. Why should we not have to follow, I mean, that stuff like that. And I think that was something that was kind of tweaked or something. And I was like, no, we should, so there are certain things that do need to stay no matter what. But that's my recommendation is a compromise.
Bill?
Well, if you have a new committee, it seems to me that you are getting input from the membership. And I would assume whoever the committee is would reach out to the members to see if they have any suggestions, corrections, what have you. And then they put it all together and they present it to the board. Which, I'm not saying what they do is what we're going to vote on. But it gives us an idea or an inkling as to what the membership feels. And then we can sit down, have a town hall meeting, whatever you want to call it, with the membership to discuss the final outcome, if you will, of what the bylaws are going to be. And, people would have input into that at that time, and we could still make changes before we do anything with them. And as far as I'm concerned, the bylaws are like the rules and regulations. In a sense, these are how we operate here. So we know what we can and cannot do. Same with the rules and regulations. They are set up by the organization to operate the HOA with what rules are necessary for us here as an individual HOA as opposed to a state HOA. So we know what we can do as members.
My turn. Okay, originally when both Bill and I were on the boards that did both the declarations and the bylaws, and again, we had attorneys involved in both. However, he's right in one thing. Bylaws are basically our operations. Declaration of protective restrictions it's required by law that those be presented to the voters for change. We do have some tweaking we need to do. Just because the language isn't as clear as we thought it was when we did it. As far as the bylaws are concerned, I think it's a good idea. The original thought when we did these, and I'm trying to remember why it didn't come out this way, but the original thought was a little bit of what Rihanna was saying. For changes required by law, which is why we had the declaration and the bylaws changed the last time anyway, because Chapter 209 became law in 2009, and we didn't change anything until like 2012 through 2018, and we were operating under the law rather than our governing documents. So the original thought was that the bylaws could be changed by the board for typographical errors or for changes that were required because of new legislation. Because if the law says we must change our bylaws, it really doesn't matter what the members think about it. We have to make the change because that's what the law says. So the original intent was for changes required by law or simple typographical would be made by the board of directors. Other parts of the bylaws governing property, elections, and so forth could go to a vote of the membership. Now, that means that we could stay current on changes in the law, and then we'd have to wait for the election cycle to do any changes that had to be approved by the membership. And because of changes in the bylaws so that we do not elect a full quorum during one election, we now will have an election every year starting with 2021. So that we elect two, and one. So, but this is the thought, and we've all said our piece. And are there any comments from the audience? We'll take 3. Please name your name and unit. And
my name's John Ritchie. I'm on Unit 3, and it would seem to me that y'all would want money keep coming in. Purchased the property, and I cannot get a membership or pay my dues. I've been trying to pay them since March, They returned me my money, said I gotta pay dues that are due by somebody else, previous owner. Well, as you mentioned, on section 209, it is a law, and as long as there's a certificate, as long as there's not a lien, and if you do put a lien, you have to file it with the county courthouse, which y'all did. So now I'm in a limbo without a membership, can't pay my assessments, and at the same time I'm accumulating late charges, which, you would think if this happens to me, how many people are y'all losing money on? They want to pay, and you can't pay because you gotta pay somebody else's assessments.
Does this have
It's county
something,
illegal.
does this, I appreciate your
I think-
comments, but this has something to do with the bylaws themselves?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Well, I think you're
This
supposed,
is the state of Texas.
I know, you're talking about 209, we're talking about the governmental bylaws.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you're gonna come see us at exec session on that one, and we can kind of explain
I
how.
still gotta wait.
Well, you-
I have to bring an attorney in.
No, you don't have to bring an attorney in, but it would be, but remember, when you buy in an HOA, the lien is with the deed.
See, we're here on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Uh-huh.
You're gonna
Come
come
in.
in during the executive session, and that's where we're
Okay.
gonna talk about
Okay, I
yours.
appreciate it.
So you're on letter G,
Okay.
Okay,
okay?
Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
All right.
Save those,
I
save
was
those,
confused the
No,
first
it's
one,
just
but
a
at the
No,
same time, I
it's
wanna
okay.
pay my assessment. Looks like we need them, but I don't wanna accumulate any more late fees.
right, I understand that.
And that is something that you were saying, you gotta tweak in, because there is people that wanna pay, but can't
Okay.
until they
Well, we're gonna,
rectify previous owners.
okay, we're gonna talk about the management certificate. in just
Okay,
a
thank you
moment.
very much for your time.
You're welcome. Anybody else on the bylaws, please?
Good morning, Guillermo Guzman, member in good standing. In regards to the bylaws, this is going to be a clarification. That's the goal of trying to revise the bylaws, is to clarify something?
Clarify several things.
Okay. Is there a list of those things?
They're gonna come up with it, the committee.
Well, the committee, someone is asking to clarify something. What are they asking to clarify now?
Right now, we're just forming a committee for them to review, to bring these ideas to the board. Right now, they're just asking to open a new ad hoc committee.
There's
Nothing is being
specific.
addressed.
Nothing specific. Okay, second thing is, it's imperative, because I've lived on the board for 15 years. I know how I have a good idea of how things operate. Whatever committee is established, please open it up to the membership, so that no one is looked upon in a negative fashion. Open it up to the membership. If you get one person, if you get two people, so be it. It's been opened up. And no one can say it wasn't opened up to anybody. Thank you.
Well, the request was made by a member, Linda O'Brien, and she will be taking volunteers for the committee.
If we could get a dispatch out?
We sure can.
Do we have a certain a number of people that you would like for this committee? I mean, maybe that would,
5, 7?
Okay, we didn't have a specific number the last time we did it. We had like 8 or 9 volunteers.
If we get that many, fine. I don't think anybody should be excluded.
No.
Exactly.
Okay, well,
Thank
and
you.
so by next board meeting, if we vote to approve the ad hoc committee, we would need the list of the members.
What volunteered?
Yes.
And I think the fact that it's going out to everybody is great. I just want to get it being discussed. The timing is perfect. If we come to terms, you guys agree on this, come to terms, we could potentially include it on the ballot in January.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to create a new ad hoc revised bylaw committee?
We had the motion in the second, correct?
Do we already, we do, I'm
But
sorry.
just-
Bye. Mr. Short-Term Memory. Okay, all those in favor of creating the new committee? It passes unanimously. So we will get you, you'll come in, we will get you a copy of 209, chapter 209 of the property code, a copy of the declaration, a copy of the current bylaws, and turn you loose.
And can I meet with Julie about a dispatch and,
Yes.
who to contact, when, where, why?
Yes.
Also, the other thing is that this was, Helena McBride chaired an ad hoc committee 2 years ago. So she has turned in their recommendations from her committee. So I think you need to get a copy of that also.
That
That was the rules and regulations.
No.
Yeah,
It was.
yeah.
Who did the bylaws? I thought somebody did we had
They
a
did not
committee.
do bylaws the last time.
Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Okay, we will need a board, one,
I was just gonna say, can we have a board?
yes, we want a
liaison?
board liaison
Correct.
to work with the committee, which means they need to be there when you have your committee meetings as much as possible.
That would be you.
I don't have Dustin here today, and I don't know if you plan on meeting day or night.
No,
but,
it depends on what everybody's schedule
okay.
is, but you know more about it than,
Yeah, I went through the process and so did
Yes.
Bill.
Either way.
Since he's been through the process with both the declaration and the bylaws and worked with the attorneys, at least we have some guide. Do you mind stepping in as?
can you bring the copy of the change, the previous bylaw change? I don't know, whatever. Well,
Yeah,
you
we'll
gave
get-
me a folder, but there's a bunch of them in there.
Well, we'll get you all the new stuff.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
And oh, never mind.
okay, so Bill's gonna be the
Welcome.
liaison. Okay, next item is the management certificate. Okay, the management, as of, the management certificate has been required for decades. But it was called something different. It was called change of agent name for a long time. And a member who did not give me permission to give their name out notified us that this person didn't think we had filed any management certificates over the past several years. And initially, we could not find them because we didn't know where they had been stored during the last 2 years. We did find them. And we had filed all the way back to the 1970s, the change of agent name. And then starting in 2013, there was one filed in 2013, 2015, and 2018. So, though the member was concerned that we had never filed any certificates, we did. And they did not file one in 2019. Now, whenever you have a change in representative name, then you have to file a management certificate. It's clearly in 209. You have to update it with changes. So for instance, if a general manager is listed on it and that general manager leaves, then the board president is the next available person who goes on that. So that's what the change is all about. All you're doing, everything stays the same for the most part, except for the person who is the legal representative for contact. It's filed with Kinney County. In 2018, the last one, they were still following the old format before the changes in 2009 with Chapter 209. And that was on legal size paper and was extremely long. There are now different. What I did is went on the internet to see what the current format was for other HOAs in Texas. And what we did is combine that with our information to come up with a new management certificate. I brought it up as an action item just so that the board would be aware of it. It has to be filed. It's ready to go. All of the information transferred from the old to the new, except for the president's name on it, which is my name. And that will stay on there until we either hire a GM and he reaches that point where he can be relied on to be the representative name, or until a new board president is elected or appointed. So it's Property Owners Association Management Certificate pursuant to Section 209.004 Texas Property Code, and it requires 7 things. Well, actually 6 and 7 option. The name of the subdivision, which is Fort Clark Springs, the name of the association, which is Fort Clark Springs Association, Inc., the recording data for the subdivision, which we're giving by 2 tracks. We have track 2, track 3, and the various plats and pages where the plats are found. The recording data for the declaration, which the revised one was recorded on March 29, 2017 with Kinney County. The name and mailing address for the association. The name and mailing address for the person managing or the association's designated representative. And then other information the association considers appropriate. We've listed the certificate of incorporation, the revised bylaws, and the covenants, conditions, reservations, and restrictions when they were recorded at various times. So that is just gets filed, we'll file it with it. Now, the importance of this document is kind of what